Hello, 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 and welcome to another fantastic episode of Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable discussion. Before we get started, let me first remind you that we are covered by the BIPCOT No Government License, which allows for the use and reuse of this podcast by anyone and everyone except for governments and the bludgies thereof. You can learn more about that at bipcot.org. That is BIPCOT.org. We're also protected by Brandenburg v. Ohio, 1969, which ruled that the government cannot punish inflammatory speech unless that speech is, quote, directed to inciting or producing imminent lawless action and is likely to incite or produce such action. Therefore, everything we say here on Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable discussion is entirely hypothetical. This is episode 111, which we tentatively have titled something about we were left unsupervised because it's just me and Kristofer. No Derica, no Andrew. So while the parents are out of the room, the kids will talk prepping and murder hornets and some other cool stuff.
And whatever else we happen to trip over along the way.
Because that's how we do it. Because we're unprofessional and we have no scripts. We just have...
It's because we don't have scripts that we are the most professional podcast on the
internet. I feel like every time we say that, there should be like bells that go off, or the sound of red flags flapping.
Sometimes I wonder if whenever we say that, we should have Andrew coming in with the chimes.
We're gonna have a Morgan or a Morgan Freeman in the voice in the background, the narration. They were not the most professional podcast.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that would be really funny if we could get something like that. I mean,
well, then we'd have to do editing and all that good
stuff.
Not
necessarily. All we'd have to have is somebody with a sound deck ready to go with it. Just whenever we say it, push the button, and there it goes.
That's true. That's true. That would be a lot easier because editing is hard and I'm lazy.
Well, and we know what happened last week with the editing stuff. So, did we ever get a video put up, or was it all just audio?
No, there was no video. There was no video.
I didn't think so.
I just put up the audio. I just put up both files raw, so you can hear the break in the audio. So yeah, if you're watching, I was recording and my computer froze, and so we had to record twice. Like we just picked it up where we left off, and Andrew was gonna do like a cool little video edit where like Wile E. Coyote hit a wall and there was a boom or something, and be like, oh yeah, we had technical difficulties, and then just go right back into it. No, we're too fucking lazy.
So it sounded like he was trying to get it done, and then his computer started acting weird.
Mm-hmm. That's what it's the goddamn NSA, and they didn't want us to put it out.
That's too bad, because that was one of the better ones too, I think, from a visual standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, it was. Let's see. Last week, I mean, we put it out. I put it out on Wednesday, and it got normal amount of plays.
Cool.
So yeah, people listen to it. I'm sorry in advance. And I actually had one person reach out when we were talking about the sitting around the plate carriers.
Yeah,
sitting around in our underwear drinking beer or watching cartoons, things like that. One of the guys from Liberty Minded Medics. They reached out to me with a screenshot of the timestamp and be like, I feel so fucking called out. There's something along those lines. So
I feel personally attacked by this highly relatable content.
I can't disagree with that, because we've
really
been
there. I can't either, just because like we were talking about before we started recording. I'll put mine on and go out and do yard work just as kind of a conditioning exercise. But as far as wearing it anywhere else, I mean, it lives in my trunk most of the time.
Yeah, I was an alcoholic for like 15 years. Yeah, I wore mine more than once in the house, half naked, drunk.
Probably with Cheeto stains on the front.
Small little fifth of Jack in the mag pouch.
That's not a terrible idea. I wonder how many if I could get a beer in each pouch, and then.
Well, there's a company out there that actually makes
A
one
beer
that
pouch?
yeah, it's not a beer pouch, but it's supposed to fit like White Claws.
Oh,
I'm sure it's just bungees. You could stretch it out to fit a beer
probably.
or a bottle of Jameson.
Now we're talking.
Tactical hangover.
My wife comes home from work. She works overnight. She comes home in the morning. I'm passed out in the bathroom on the floor. Plate carrier on, empty bottle of Jameson has rolled out of the pouch across the floor. Straw still hanging out of my mouth.
Yeah, just your tack vest and a pair of camo Crocs.
I don't even own any Crocs. Just my combat boots and my vest.
Combat boots in your vest. There you go.
Yeah,
Train like you fight.
that's right.
All right. But since we're on that subject and it's just me and Kristofer, we amended the set list and we're just going to talk about shit that we want to talk about. So we're going to get into prepping a little bit. This article from Bloomberg, but I'm going to read the Zero Hedge version because I fucking hate Bloomberg. So we'll just get into it, I guess. But it's Americans are panic buying military and survivalist gear 2 weeks before the election.
Oh, this is my shock face. Why weren't they doing this months ago, years ago?
Oh my god. Okay. It's an alarming trend that we've observed before throughout the anxiety-ridden summer of the rolling COVID lockdowns and pandemic uncertainty, as well as the chaos of race protests and riots. Americans are stockpiling weapons and combat gear like there's no tomorrow, or rather, looking toward the near-term extreme unknowns coming post-election. That's kind of that's like it's well written, but it's just fucking garbage.
It is. I mean, the way it's written is great, but it's you can definitely tell they're trying to go for a specific narrative here.
Oh, it's fear porn. It's absolute fear porn. But surveying gun and tactical gun stores in cities, especially across the South. For example, Austin, a new report in Bloomberg finds that, quote, less than 2 weeks before Election Day, orders are still rolling in. Since last year, online purchases have driven a 20-fold jump in sales of goods like the $220 CM6M gas mask, resistant to beanbag rounds, for mirror safety in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, the local shop that Andrew and I visit, Village Gunsmith. Check them out on Facebook, by the way. They post some really good stuff. They just started carrying Mira.
I think we've single-handedly doubled the reach and the number of likes on their Facebook page.
It's possible, just because I know a couple of times like you've shared stuff of theirs on Wolf and stuff.
Yeah. So, quote: it doesn't matter who gets elected. The tactical gear outlet's founder Roman Zrazhevskiy.
You got me, man.
Roman Z told Bloomberg as he sees products fly off the shelves, quote, they think that no matter who wins, Biden or Trump, there are going to be people who are upset about the result.
Yeah.
That is a no shit Sherlock statement.
I have talked to so many people on both sides, and they all say the same thing. Well, if this guy wins, we're going to burn shit down. Okay. What if your guy wins? Well, I don't know. Then I'll be peaceful. Then you talk to the other people, and they're like, okay, So what happens if your guy wins? Nothing. All right. What happens if their guy wins? We're going to burn shit down.
But if you tell people the government is tyrannical and overpowered, they look at you like you just kicked their kitten.
Right. They don't. It's like, so you're okay with your guy having all this extra power?
Yeah.
But not that guy. Heaven forbid it be that guy. And then they don't understand why those of us in our particular neck of the woods don't vote.
The collapsitarian in me really hopes Joe Jorgensen wins.
Oh God.
Because the left and right will lose their absolute fucking collective minds.
Yes, they would, and I would die laughing.
Oh, the memes would be just so fantastic.
Well, I mean, the collapsitarian in me kind of doesn't care. At the same time, doesn't really care who wins, because all it's going to do is accelerate one side or the other.
Uh-huh. Oh, there's no doubt about it that whoever wins, or not wins isn't the right word. Whoever selected, the debt's going to go up, government's going to get bigger, violence is going to happen, the economy is going to keep collapsing.
Police are still going to keep killing everybody.
Yep, it's just the way it works. Back to the article. It says, however, the Bloomberg report especially zeroes in on, quote, right-wing extremism. That's why I didn't read the Bloomberg report, you guys. Right-wing extremism and a new form of patriotism, which sees the, quote, survivalist look as a part of the lifestyle, centering on preparation for the coming political unrest. The fuck is the survivalist look?
If you don't have the will to survive, what the fuck are you still doing breathing?
Okay. Hot sellers include high-end body armor, plates costing hundreds of dollars, military-grade gas masks, tactical clothing, and gun accessories like laser sights and scopes.
Okay, wait a second. Do these article writers not realize that we are also like a month away from a lot of states' deer hunting seasons too? I mean,
oh my God, he's got camo and a scope. He's a patriot.
I mean, the rifle that I hunt deer with usually, I'm almost ashamed to admit it. It's a bolt action with the scope on it. Oh no, it's such a dangerous thing. It has a scope. I mean, what?
It's a sniper rifle. Remember when that argument was being made?
Yes, I do. All I could do was shake my head. It's like, are you fucking serious?
And then they would make that argument, and then like you'd reply, and then they would say, "Well, the Second Amendment is about hunting."
Right. That's why I have the scope, you fucking idiot.
Noting that across the U.S., gun and ammo sales are surging with record prices as well as shortages. For example, some bullets for assault rifles. God damn, they use fucking assault rifles. For example, some bullets for assault rifles selling for a whopping 50 cents per single round. The report underscores that business is booming for those stores like never before.
Well, they're not wrong about the price of ammo. I just recently went to a gun show this weekend in my local town, and 9mm was selling for 75 cents a round. 5.56 was selling right around $1 a round in a lot of cases.
Yep. If you can find 5.56 here in California, it's like $800 a case.
A case of 100 or 200?
1,000.
Oh, 1,000 rounds for 80 cents a round. I mean, that's terrible.
That's double.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, and that's fucking horrible. But
yeah,
that's cheaper than what a lot of people were paying for at this stupid gun show here. I saw one guy who walked up to a table. He had 6 cases of 5.56 sitting there for 100. What was it? What did he have on those? I think he had them listed at $1 a round.
Wow.
And he walked out with all 6 cases, paid cash.
Wow.
Yep, it was all 855, M855.
Fucking loco. Let's see. But the report still acknowledges that trend transcends political affiliation on either extremes on the left or the right. One top DHS official who served as a former assistant secretary for threat prevention at the Department of Homeland said, quote, It's evidence of what many people have been expressing concerns about for the last 6 months. The stress associated with the pandemic, a frustration or anger about various government mitigation efforts, and the belief that those efforts are infringing on their individual liberties. Well,
Because they are.
that's another no shit Sherlock statement. Like,
I mean,
like
how
the
dense do you have to be sitting in your ivory tower of government
Mhm.
and thinking that people aren't going to be pissed when you tell them, "Oh, you can't go out in public without covering your face."
not only that, but sorry, you can't go see your grandma in the retirement home.
Right. I
Like,
mean,
you're
and
sorry,
in some cases,
your mom is dying in this old folks home. Sorry, you can't go hold her hand
yep,
because of COVID restrictions.
yep.
That's what
And that
the
happens in a lot of the government owned facilities. I know some privately owned places. If somebody is in active hospice care, they'll toss the restrictions out so that way family can come and visit
well,
a dying
that
patient.
was
But
the issue in Kansas City. There was a guy that was arrested for conspiring to kidnap the mayor of Kansas City.
yep.
And it was because of the mayor's restrictions on the guy visiting his mom in the retirement home. Like,
Hmm.
this wasn't some wacko, right? It's not some boogaloo boy, some libertarian, some fucking guy off his meds. This was a retired firefighter
Yep.
who had awards from the city for his bravery and for his conduct. Like, and he couldn't see his mom in the retirement home because of COVID restrictions. Like they drove him to that point.
Yeah. Well, and you see that like with what the one we covered not that long ago with Michigan.
With
Uh, s-
Michigan.
and there's one that we're going to cover later on too with Ohio. I mean, and you can go farther back before COVID and everything. Marvin Heemeyer.
Uh-huh.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's exactly
Killdozer.
what happened with him.
Mm-hmm.
He tried to play by their rules, and they kept moving the goalposts on him, and it drove a otherwise reasonable person to
Mm-hmm.
do something unreasonable
Yep.
because the government was being unreasonable. And the more you push on that,
Mm-hmm.
that's what's going to happen. You're going to get a lot more pushback from the people. And the
Mm-hmm.
perfect example of that is my daughter and I, before or earlier tonight when we got home, had a discussion. I told her, now I'm no Trump supporter, and everybody here who's listened to this podcast at all over the last 6 months will know that. I asked her because she told me before that she supports Biden. I said, okay, I want you to make the case for me for Biden without mentioning Trump. And she tried. She gave me an honest effort,
Mm-hmm.
but everything that she said I could poke holes in really easy.
Mm-hmm.
And the same goes the other direction.
Yeah.
But the more, and one of the things that she brought up was Biden has a plan for the whole COVID thing. Say, okay, but if we're all supposed to be in this together, we're all supposed to be working together. Why would he be playing politics if COVID is as serious as they paint it out to be, with a solution? When if he brought it out now, he'd win this election selection process by the freaking
Mm-hmm.
landslide if it worked.
But
But
hasn't. Yeah.
he hasn't brought up anything.
No. And he did not say that mandatory vaccinations. He refused to answer that one.
Yep.
He beat around the bush. So okay, back to the article. Gun sales have soared throughout the summer, going back to the early weeks of the pandemic lockdown in the spring. Um, yeah, every single month have been higher, like record higher than
Yep.
last year and the year before. So
Well, not only that, I think gun sales have actually increased month over month this
yeah,
year too.
yeah.
And
Um,
I can see that every time I go into the Village Gunsmith.
mhm.
They're getting semis.
Well, that was sorry. That was the thing after the first round of Trump bucks came out, the $1,200
Mm-hmm.
stimulus. Um, I think it was like Coinbase recorded a record number of sales that day for Bitcoin, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of them were for $1,200.
Right. People
And
were
then
trying to get something that wasn't
Mhm.
going to lose
yeah,
value with the
and then
inflation that we just
and then
created.
that's also when the ammo scarcity really kicked off,
Yep.
and the
Because people
firearms
were buying
scarcity
whatever they
really
could
kicked off.
find. Yep.
And then also for freeze dried and dehydrated foods, the prepper website sold out so fucking fast.
Yep. Because
So
people just didn't know. And they still don't. And that's why you're seeing even today, all the prepper websites, all the emergency food websites, gun sales. I mean, using my local shop here as an example, they get a semi's load worth of ARs, AR parts, and handguns. And within 3 days, they're down to just about nothing in those three categories again because people are coming in and buying whatever they can get their hands on. I mean, even cheap guns like Tauruses and Skies and stuff like that are just flying out off the
that's
shelves because that's what people can afford.
my local gun shop, Antioch Armory. Like they won't advertise Glocks or anything polymer like that anymore because it sells out so fucking fast. The only thing they have is like
1911s.
like $2,500 Wilson 1911s.
Yep.
Those are the only thing like actually sitting on the shelves.
That's
Oh
the
wait,
only
no,
thing.
they did have a Chris Vector pistol, for like $3,000, and it sold in like 4 hours. Yeah,
Yeah.
because we have the handgun roster, so everything has to be tested, so it jacks up the price.
Right. No, perfect example. But the one thing I will say is a lot of the shops around here aren't doing the price gouging. Like I could go to the Village Gunsmith tomorrow and pick up a Canik TP9 SFX for less than $500, which is pretty normal pricing for that gun. At the gun show that I went to, there was a guy who had one on the table that was an FFL table for $750, and I watched it sell.
That's why we share memes from them and not from Antioch Armory. Yeah, back to the article. Pandemic-related lockdown in spring, and the potential for a contested election could bring this, quote, perfect storm of frustration and anxieties to the forefront in some Civil War type of violence and clashes in urban settings. While such a prospect, as little as a year ago, seemed far-fetched and overly conspiratorial, the experience of life in 2020 has left more people seeing that this is actually possible.
Yeah, I mean, with and it all started with Floyd. I mean, it really started in earnest with George Floyd because the people had finally had enough and they started actually doing something. Now, I will never condone the burning of private businesses, but when I watched the precinct go up in smoke that day, oh, I was dancing the freaking jig in my living room watching that live on YouTube.
I can't disagree with that.
I mean, it's like finally that you see, because you go all the way back to Ferguson, and all you saw was private industry that was being damaged and destroyed. If people want to tell the government what they really think about their policies and their procedures when it comes to police brutality or the victimless crimes, what have you, burning the private industry, private businesses in the neighborhood around the precinct is not sending that message.
See, now here's the thing, like, the police have no obligation to protect you or yours. Right. That is ruled by SCOTUS, the Supreme Court of the United States, several times.
Yep.
Right. That's the basis of the Heller versus DC, versus DC decision. Right.
Yep.
But they'll arrest you eagerly for defending yourself or your business.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Like we said, you're on your own. And unfortunately, as happy as I am to see all these people buying firearms and to buy all this gear and to really start to take an actual picture of what's happening, yes, and start to understand what is really happening. and this isn't new. It's not a 2020 thing. Like if you guys remember back to 2012 when Obama was up for re-election. Remember the panic buying. Remember the surge in gun sales, the surge in ammo sales. Like there were people going into their fucking bunkers, freaking out that the world was going to end, that there was going to be a civil war, and blah blah blah. And what happened?
Not a damn thing.
Not a damn fucking thing happened. But that was 2012.
Fun.
This is 8 years later now.
With 2012, because I talked to several people who were, they admitted, yes, I'm going to the polls and I'm going to vote for Obama again. Meanwhile, they're buying ARs, which Obama wanted to ban. It's like, wait a second. I don't think you understand here.
No. So.
But I just had to share that because I thought that was funny.
Yeah, that was 2012. This is 2020. So it's
things are a lot more volatile, I would say, in the national discourse in 2020 than they were in 2012. I mean, by a very wide margin.
Well, I mean, we've had 3.5 years, or almost 4 years now, of the media building it up and building it up and building it up, and even longer than that. If you go back to the selection season before Trump was selected, right? So this is like 2015, right? So now we've had 5.5 years of this, because that was a long selection season with him and Hillary. Jesus, that was a long selection season.
Well, and this one hasn't been really any shorter because we've been dealing with.
But it's been different because of COVID.
It's been different, but it's still just been as vitriolic as 2016 was.
Well, I think not only does it get as vitriolic, I think it has to get more. I think it has to be more than the last one, because people have to fake more outrage this time. Yeah. Right? You can't express the same outrage in 2016 or in 2020 as you did in 2016, because then you're like, oh well, yeah, that's all that you got, right? Well, it doesn't matter, because things have to get worse in order to justify their existence.
And it's funny because it's been a lot of the mainstream media that's been driving this. I mean, sure, you have a lot of your lefty politicians and stuff that have been driving it, as far as, the whole orange man bad and Russia. But to be fair, Orange Man has not done himself any favors with the fucking Twitter.
No.
If he had put the damn Twitter down in January, the polls would be a fucking landslide.
I think Trump's tweets were a gift to not only us memers, but it was an absolute gift to the people that use moral outrage as social currency.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But I mean, if you really look at it from a polls perspective, and yes, we all know that it's
one more quick thing on the media. I will have two quick things on the media. One is you have to remember that the media, the mainstream media, is owned by like 5 or 6 corporations, right?
I thought it was 3.
So it's like 5.
Is it 5?
I think it's 5, and they all sit on the Bilderberg table, or the Bilderberg Council. But either way, what I'm getting at is media, all media, alternative media, mainstream media, whatever. It's all a for-profit business. It's all a for-profit business. So the more that they can scare things up, the more they can sensationalize and the fear porn, the more they can get that up, the more people that they have watching and reading, then the more that they can get for advertising. Yep. Right?
Which is why they've pushed everything as far as they have. And whether intentionally or not.
It's why you don't see good stories about police officers.
No.
Yes, there are good stories about police officers out there, but you don't see them in the media because they don't bring in money. They don't bring in profit.
Right.
Because
and when you do see one, it's usually about a 30-second read just to say, hey, this cop
it's
went
at the
and played
very
basketball.
end. Yeah, it's at the very end as the credits are starting to roll.
Yep. And that's not to say that we believe by any stretch of the imagination that police are good as an organization, because they're not. And every last one of them is going to enforce every last law with the same amount of zeal as they will.
Look at the Mike Dunn arrest in Virginia for that one.
Yeah.
The cop admitted it was an unconstitutional law, and he still arrested him.
Yep. Meanwhile, we're not saying that, the cops are good or there's good cops or anything like that. What we're saying is occasionally police do something that makes them less of a piece of shit.
Yes. So yeah, and the second thing I wanted to get at real quick is I have to crack on my libertarians for a minute. They complain about the mainstream media not covering Joe. There's no fucking market incentive for them to cover Joe. Like, I get it, you love her, blah blah blah, but she's pulling at like 1 to 3%.
I saw one the other day where she was up to 6.
They're not gonna take time away from the meat and potatoes that is Biden and Trump and COVID for a 30-second spot on a third-party candidate that is pulling at 1 to 3%. If there was a way to profit to make a profit of Joe Jorgensen being on the stage debating, Joe Jorgensen would be on the stage debating.
Mm-hmm.
So and as libertarians and anarchists, you should fucking know that about market realities and market demand.
Because the way the government has billed and sold the American people from a very young age, 13-year, 15,000-hour mandatory indoctrination program.
Multi-generational.
Multi-generational.
Statism starts at home.
So they have built this duopoly of red versus blue, elephant versus jackass. They have built this and built it up over the last, century plus? 150 years, maybe? So, if you really think that a third-party candidate is going to break through anywhere in the mainstream, it's just not going to happen until people stop.
And that's assuming your vote matters at all.
Exactly. And that's assuming a lot of things. But if you really think that your vote matters, then standing there and yelling, a vote for a third party is a wasted vote, or it's a vote for the other guy, you're stupid.
There's an argument to be made that voting is stupid to begin with.
Well, it is. And I'm trying to reach out to the statists who may listen to us to try to, I don't know, break down their own opinions, or maybe they're open-minded enough to listen. I don't know. But I'm trying to reach across to them and be like, look, if you really don't like what you're seeing right now from the Reds and the Blues, then if you really think that your vote matters, do something different. What is that definition of insanity? Doing the same fucking thing over and over again and expecting different results.
Yeah. Libertarian Party's been around for 50 years. Right at 50 years. I think it was founded in 71.
Yeah.
So and even David Nail himself, the founder of the Libertarian Party, eventually left the party.
Right. Because he knew that it was a losing gambit.
He called it foolish. He called their political ambitions foolish.
Well, once you get, and I can understand where he's coming from, because once you really look into everything that's going on with the Federal Election Commission and all that stuff, the system is rigged, people. It's absolutely rigged. The only people they want to have anywhere near the positions of power are those that they can control. And if they don't think they can control your Joe Jorgensens or anybody else, they're never going to get anywhere.
There is no corporate demand for a free market. and there never will be, because then there wouldn't be any corporations.
Right.
Well, all right. Let's move on to this next one, because this is the article I really wanted to get to tonight, and I wish we were all here for it, but I'm just going to read. This is such a long piece, and it's done by Reuters, Reuters Investigates, which is like their special little branch.
Yep.
But it's a really, really long article, and it's white font on a black background, which makes me a little angry. But yeah, this is called "Dying Inside: The Hidden Crisis in America's Jails."
And this is part 1, by the way.
This is part 1, and it says why 4,998 have died in U.S. jails without getting their day in court. So this is 5,000 people dying without ever seeing a judge or being able to post bond or anything like that. So the U.S. government collects data or detailed data. Okay, no, we don't need to read that part. Harvey Hill, who wouldn't leave John Finnegan's front yard. He stood in the pouring rain, laughing at the sky, alarming his former boss's wife. Finnegan dialed 911. Quote, he needs a mental evaluation, the landscaper recalls telling the arriving officer. Instead, Hill, who was charged with trespassing and jailed on suspicion of a misdemeanor offense that could bring a $500 fine. It was a death sentence. The next day, May 6th, 2018, Hill's condition worsened. He flew into a rage at the Madison County Detention Center in Canton, Mississippi, throwing a checkerboard and striking a guard with a lunch tray. 3 guards tackled the 35-year-old, pepper sprayed him, and kicked him repeatedly in the head. After handcuffing him, 2 guards slammed Hill into a concrete wall, previously unpublished jail surveillance video shows. They led him to a shower away from the cameras and beat him again, still handcuffed, a state investigation found. The guard said Hill was combative, exhibiting surprising strength that required force.
I'm sorry, he's been restrained. You know, if he's out in the general area and he's been restrained and he's still being combative, one of 2 things needs to happen. 1, he needs to be transferred out to a mental health facility where he can be properly restrained and treated. Or 2, he needs to go back into his box with the door closed.
And instead they took him to the showers and beat him.
Instead they took him to the showers and beat him to freaking death.
Yeah. Video showed Hill writhing in pain in the infirmary when he was assessed by a licensed practical nurse, but was not given medication. Mississippi law dictates that a doctor or higher credentialed nurse makes decisions on medical interventions. But Hill was sent straight to an isolation cell where a guard pinned him to the floor, removed his handcuffs, and left him lying on cement. Hill crawled to the toilet. Then he stopped moving. No one checked on him for 46 minutes. When they did, he didn't have a pulse. Within hours, he was dead, and he has a lot of company. Hill is one of 7,571 inmate deaths Reuters documented in an unprecedented examination of mortality in more than 500 U.S. jails from 2008 to 2009. Death rates have soared in these lockups, rising 35% over the decade ending last year. Casualties like Hill are typical, held on minor charges and dying without ever getting their day in court. At least 2/3 of the dead inmates identified by Reuters, 4,998 people, were never convicted of the charges on which they were being held.
So these people convict minor offenses, such as in this case, he was trespassing.
Well, he wasn't even convicted. He was arrested.
He wasn't even convicted. Yes,
he was
he was arrested while he
had not even been arraigned yet.
No, but what I'm saying is he was on private property where he shouldn't have been. So he was trespassing. He was arrested for it, which carries a $500 forfeiture, a tax, if you will.
Yeah.
And instead, they executed him.
Tortured and
executed him because he had a mental health episode.
Yeah.
I mean,
as Rob Hustle said, this is what happens when you call the cops.
Yeah. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, if I'm having a mental health episode, if you call the cops, it's not going to end well. Brandenburg v. Ohio.
Yeah.
But I mean,
yeah, unlike state and federal prisons, which hold people convicted of serious crimes, jails are locally run lockups meant to detain people awaiting arraignment or trial, or those serving short sentences. The toll of jail inmates who die without a case resolution subverts a fundamental tenet of the U.S. criminal justice system: innocent until proven guilty.
okay, I want to unpack that for a minute because it's supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. However, look a fucking round you, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. I mean, we throw people in cages without trial or arraignment or anything like that. I mean, that to me sounds like guilty until proven innocent.
Well, and you get executions for guilty until proven innocent. I mean, look at what happened. I can't remember the guy's name in Arizona just recently. He and his girlfriend were playing video games, and it was
Ryan Williams.
Ryan Williams, and somebody beat on his door at 2:00 in the morning. Well, what the hell are you going to do if somebody beats on your door at 2:00? If you have a gun, you're probably going to answer the door with the gun. Yeah. And he was shot in the back and executed because he answered the door as most people would if their door was being knocked on at 2:00 in the fucking morning. He was executed because he was playing video games with his girlfriend.
Yep.
That is guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah. Quote, a lot of people are dying and they've never been sentenced. And that's obviously a huge problem, said Nils Melzer, the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Torture and Other Inhumane Punishments after reviewing the Reuters findings. Quote, you have to provide due process in all of these cases. You have to provide humane detention conditions in all of these cases. And you have to provide medical care in all of these cases.
Okay. Real quick, I have to point this out. This is coming from the United Nations, where you've got people like Iran, North Korea, who if you get arrested,
look what the United Nations did in Haiti.
Oh God!
All there. Go ask some of those 14-year-old girls that were raped about the United Nations.
So I just want to point that out. That we're talking about a group from the United Nations. It's the pot calling the kettle black, ladies and gentlemen.
So, all right. Our article goes on. The U.S. Constitution grants inmates core rights, but those provisions are hard to enforce. No, they're not.
They're really not.
They're not hard to enforce. The 14th Amendment guarantees fair treatment to pretrial detainees, but, quote, fair is open to interpretation by judge and juries. The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that the 8th Amendment ban on cruel punishment forbids, quote, deliberate indifference to a serious medical needs of a prisoner, but proving deliberate negligence is difficult. The Sixth Amendment assures speedy trials, but it does not define speedy.
Deliberate negligence. What about deliberate assault?
I'm no medical professional, I'm no lawyer, but I would have to say that dragging someone into an area where there's no cameras and beating them is
pretty fucking deliberate.
Is deliberate indifference to serious medical needs of prisoners. Yeah,
especially after you already beat him,
kicked him in the head multiple times, and then deleted the video. But as you're an IT guy, you know that nothing's ever really truly deleted. So,
well, I mean, there are ways, but it takes
it takes a drill and
even that can be done. But I mean, if you put the hard drives on some tannerite and set it off or something like that, sure, that is gone. But I mean, I
thought it was a warming plate for the microwave.
Yeah.
All right. The Reuters analysis revealed a confluence of factors that turn short jail stay into death sentences. Many jails are not subject to any enforceable standards for their operations or health care they provide. They typically gain little, if any, oversight, and bail requirements trap poorer inmates in pretrial detentions for long periods. Meanwhile, inmate populations have grown sicker, more damaged by mental illness, and plagued by addictions.
this is my shocked fucking face.
Yeah, totally shocked. The 7,571 deaths identified by Reuters reflect those stresses. Most succumb to illness, something wanting for quality health care. More than 2,000 took their own lives, and mental breakdowns include some 1,500 awaiting trial or indictment. A growing number, more than 1 in 10 last year, died from acute effect of drugs and alcohol. Nearly 300 died after languishing behind bars, unconvicted for a year or more.
But that's right. The magic parchment says you get a speedy fucking trial.
And don't forget all the conservatives out there that will tell you, don't fight the police, just take your day in court.
Right. Well, what if it doesn't come? Fucking hell. I mean, come on. Conservatives, if you're watching this, how, after hearing after that paragraph right there, how can you still sit there and say that, oh, your day in court's gonna come and it's gonna be a fair trial? I mean,
just trust the government, just trust the system.
Right. I mean, I don't know all the details about what happened, but I'll use Andrew's story. He never got a day in court. He ended up pleading on that one disorderly conduct charge because they just dragged their feet. They dragged it out. They asked for continuance after continuance. They just dragged the whole fucking process out to the point where it became financially unsustainable for him to continue to try to go to court to fight the charge, to the point where he just said, you know what, fuck it, I need to move on with my life. And that is what they do to you. That is what the system that you're not supposed.
It's not just the system itself. It's also, there's also a lot of ego involved, especially when it comes to prosecutors and plea deals.
Yep.
Right. A prosecutor, a plea deal to a lesser charge is still a conviction. Yes. Right. So a prosecutor can still go and, to the next election season and be like, look at my record. Look at all these convictions. Look at all these bad people I've taken off the streets.
And most of those, if you actually go and look at their convictions, are, hey, this guy was arrested for a felony charge of human trafficking, and he pled down to a misdemeanor charge of possession with intent to deliver.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look at,
and then he walks.
Well, I mean, one of the things that we talked about last episode, or the episode before, we talked about how 91% of the marijuana arrests last year were for simple possession.
Yep.
Right. It was like 565,000 people that were arrested for marijuana. 91% of those for simple possession, and it was more people that were arrested for marijuana than were arrested for all violent crimes combined.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep. That was last weekend.
Yeah.
It's at that point. How do you not question the validity of things like the drug war?
I mean, you can thank people like Joe Biden for. Yeah. And his omnibus crime bill.
Absolutely. But I mean, how can you not look at stuff like that and go, how is this okay? Especially in today's America, where more and more people are on board with
the United States. The United States has it's like 5% of the world's population or something like that, 7% of the world's population, and it has like 25% of the world's prisoners.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're the land of the free.
And most of those prisoners are jailed for nonviolent offenses, usually possession of some kind of narcotic. And I'd be willing to bet that the bulk of those sitting in jail for possessions of narcotics are sitting there because of a fucking plant.
Yeah. So this is a really long article. As always, our articles will be linked in the description. So I'm not going to go into it too much further because it is a huge black hole, and it's just me and Kristofer tonight.
And honestly, if everybody else was here, we wouldn't have made it that far into the article
No.
because Andrew and Derica would have gone off the fucking rails by now.
Andrew would be in the middle of a fucking 4-minute rant. Derica would be rubbing her temples.
At least 4 minutes. Come on.
Yeah.
There's a good chance Andrew goes a full 10 on this.
He has good rants though.
He does.
So
he does. But it's just I don't understand how anybody could look at this, and especially referencing those numbers from last week, and go, the system works. I mean, seriously, even looking at it from a statist perspective, how could you look at this in any way, size, shape, or form, and go, the system is great. The system works perfectly. Obviously, it doesn't, because you have people who are being held on tiny things.
Trespassing.
I was standing in my boss's front fucking yard
having a mental issue,
having a mental breakdown, and he was murdered for it. And then because of qualified immunity and all that other shit that the goddamn cops get away with on a regular basis, nobody is ever going to see jail time for killing this man.
No. Here's one for you. 17 states have no rules or oversight mechanisms for local jails.
17 states.
Yes, a third of the United States has no rules or oversight mechanism for local jails.
Think about that for a second. One out of every 3 states that you may visit, you may accidentally run afoul, and you could end up being murdered because you made a simple error. Or maybe something happened you couldn't control, like the guy above who had a mental breakdown. And instead of getting treatment for his mental breakdown, he was murdered in fucking jail.
Yes, 17 states have no rules or oversight mechanism for local jails. In 5 other low population states, all detention facilities are run by state corrections agencies. The other 28 have some form of standards, such as assessing inmates' health on arrival or checking on suicidal inmates at prescribed intervals. Yet those standards often are minimal, and in at least 6 of those states, the agencies that write them lack enforcement power or authority to refer substandard jails for investigation.
So they have standards to meet, but they can't fucking do anything about it. But it's okay, because that magic parchment's going to protect your ass.
Standards are minimal, and in 6 of those states, the agencies that write them lack enforcement power or the authority to refer substandard jails for investigation. So in 6 of the 28 states that actually have some form of standards, the overseers of those standards have no authority to require or to ask for an investigation or have any sort of enforcement powers to say, hey, you need to meet these standards.
Yep. And I guarantee you the justification for all of that is because, well, these people, they all broke the law and they deserve to be treated like animals. I guarantee you, if you talk to some of the fucking, especially the Trump humpers out there, we're going, my thin blue line, god damn it.
All right.
Oh.
Let's see. Here's one. One example is the Marion County Jail in Indiana, a decrepit 65-year-old facility nicknamed the Fossil within the Sheriff's Department. Overfilled and understaffed, the Marion County Jail had at least 45 deaths from 2009 to 2019. Yet local officials rejected pleas from 2 consecutive sheriffs for additional funding to bolster staffing and to build a new facility. Reuters found that the jail is among the 24 with an average death rate of 3.5 deaths per 1,000 inmates, at least double the national average from 2009 to 2019. and its record with troubling on one of the most challenging problem plaguing jails, suicide, which accounted for more than a quarter of all U.S. jail deaths.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say most of these that reported as suicides were likely not suicides. Just like Jeffrey Epstein.
Let's see. Thomas Shane Mills, a married father of two, struggled for years with mental health and opiate addiction when he was arrested in 2016 on a misdemeanor drug possession warrant. On his second day in jail, he flung himself down a stairway and swallowed the contents of a chemical ice pack. Put on suicide watch, Miles was given a, quote, suicide mock, a heavy hospital-style gown with Velcro, and placed in a monitored cell. That jail's policy, as well as the American Bar Association guidelines, dictated that suicidal inmates be monitored continuously. On day 6, Miles was given a jail uniform for a hearing and escorted down an underground hallway to a holding cell below the adjacent court building, a cell with no video monitor or clear sightlines for deputies. Left alone, he tore a strip of cloth from his collar, looped it over the door hinge, and hung himself. He was found unconscious 30 minutes after entering the cell. An internal inquiry said the supervising officer logged his rounds after the fact, leaving it unclear when Miles was checked.
I'm sorry. I'm just going through that. All I can think is, what are the chances that this place? They said
hold on.
He was in an area that
Miles' suicide was the jail's 7th in just under 15 months. The fossil suicide rate ranked it among the top 20 jails in the Reuter study.
7 in 15 months.
Yeah. You would think that, like, suicidal inmates, watching them, that would be, like, part of SOP at that point. The SOP is standard operating
procedure. But you would think so, but I mean, go take that a step further. If somebody is suicidal, the chances are they're having some kind of a mental episode, whether it's stress related or what have you. Keeping them in fucking jail with all these other people is not, I repeat that, not going to help them with their suicidal tendencies. Get them some fucking help, you heartless pieces of shit. Pardon my rant. I mean, granted, I know it's not their job to protect people or what have you, but
no duty, no obligation.
No duty, no obligation. But at the same time, this just continues to hammer home the fact that these people, these animals that run our so-called justice system, are heartless, careless pieces of human excrement who have zero hearts. And not only that, they hide behind it. They sit there and constantly, oh, I'm just doing my job. I'm doing what I'm told. I'm doing what I'm told. Doing what you're told isn't fucking working. These people are dying on your watch because you're a piece of garbage.
Yeah, it's insane. This article it's so intense. You guys got to go read this article. It's linked in the description. It's a long article and it's white lettering on a black background. Just so you know, it's I don't know. Some people don't mind it, but that really fucks with my eyes. So Kristofer has a very angry face right now. He's very upset.
Oh, I'm fuming right now. I just
Well, let's see if we can make Kristofer pop.
Oh, fuck you.
Let's be name of this episode is Kristofer blows a gasket. Jolette police sergeant who alleged police misconduct in the death of Eric Leary has been arrested. Jolie,
You're
Illinois.
just trying. You're fanning
Yeah.
the fucking flames now.
Yeah. A Jolie police sergeant who went public with allegations of police misconduct and the death of a suspect has been arrested. Sergeant Javier Escueda was charged with 2 counts of official misconduct and was booked into the Kendall County Jail. Bond was set at $5,000, and Escueda walked out of the facility on Wednesday afternoon. The felony charges mean that Escueda could have 5 years in prison if he is found guilty.
Okay,
quote, I want justice for Eric Lurie, Escueda said on Wednesday. I want officers in the county to come out and tell the truth. Quote, something like this should not be happening if you were telling the truth. Escueda, 51 years old, blew the whistle on the death of Leary, who and has been stripped of his police powers and placed on administrative leave. Gillette police withheld the video of the arrest for 5 months. He believed the police department was trying to cover up the arrest. Quote, yes, I do, 100%, Escueda told us. Quote, I did the right thing. I'm a good, honest cop. There are calls to fire the 2 officers involved in Leary's death.
They need more than fucking getting fired.
Hold on. The 2 cops that killed the guy
are
have a
still
badge.
On the fucking job.
The whistleblower has been arrested and relieved of his badge.
So the guy who is trying to do the right fucking thing and stepped outside from behind the protection of the blue fucking line is sitting and facing 5 years on 2 felony charges of official misconduct because he told the truth about 2 cops who murdered a guy who was in their fucking car.
Yeah. Police Chief Alan Roshner said Escueda's, quote, unauthorized access to video evidence that was involved in a criminal investigation is what ultimately led to him being placed on administrative duty. In one video clip, Sergeant Doug May slapped Lurie, called him a bitch, and then pinched his nose shut. The video also shows police hitting Leary when he was in handcuffs and putting a police baton in his mouth. Like they literally shoved the baton down his throat trying to get him.
I remember watching the video.
After Leary died, police said officers believed that there was a bag of drugs in his mouth. But Escueda told earlier in the year that even if that was the case, he doesn't believe officers should have taken the actions that could have cut off Leary's air supply.
He's absolutely right. These cops literally abused and tortured a man in the backseat of a squad car.
On video.
Mm-hmm. Because they suspected, potentially or theoretically suspected, that he had a bag of narcotics.
Yeah. Quote, that's been written into law for a few years now, Escueda said. Quote, you can't do that anymore to try to get them to cough up any kind of drugs in their system. I can't think of anywhere where I was taught CPR or in the academy. When you slap a man, call him a bad name, cut off his airway, go for his throat. Escueda said he cried when he saw the video, which was shared around.
Oh yeah, like I said, I saw the video. When the media got it, I watched the damn video, and I remember watching it going, why are these 2 cops still alive? Brandenburg v. Ohio. But I mean, why are these just their actions alone in that one video? I'm guaranteeing you they've done this to other people and they just didn't die from it.
Yeah. The Will County Coroner's Office ruled Leary's death was due to heroin, fentanyl, and cocaine intoxication. The autopsy report obtained by CBS 2 does not mention whether the squad car video was reviewed before the coroner office issued its ruling back in March. Gillette finally released 3 hours of video related to the investigation. This was not the first time there had been questions about police transparency surrounding Leary's death. In her interview with CBS 2, Leary's widow, Nicole, said she was denied access to all police reports. She only found out a video from a camera mounted inside the police car of the night exists because CBS found out and told her.
Okay, so let me break this down into the simplest fucking terms for everybody. The long story short, this guy was arrested. They threw him in the back of the squad car, and because they had this feeling that he swallowed a bag of drugs.
Yes.
They subjected him to torture in the backseat of the squad car to get him to regurgitate said bag of drugs. In the process, they murdered him. So now, based straight out of this article, it's a law that they can't do that anymore to get them to cough up the drugs. So they broke the law there. Then they murdered a man while breaking the law. So now they've broken 2 laws for those keeping track. Meanwhile, these 2 pieces of shit are still cops. They're still out there on the road. So they can do this shit again and again and again. Meanwhile, the guy who is trying to hold them accountable for their actions is facing 5 years and a felony charge.
Two felony
charges, thereby stripping him of his rights for trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
If you think
two counts of official misconduct because he released the video.
If you think for 1 second that they have anything but their own best interest at heart, you need a helicopter ride.
To look at the oceanfront property I have in Arizona for sale?
Yes. Oh my God. This is so goddamn infuriating.
There are, options exist. I'm just putting that out there.
Brandenburg v. Ohio.
No. There's nobody near Brandenburg v. Ohio in this one.
That's true.
A beekeeper has dumped a nest of giant Asian hornets outside a town hall in France.
I love this story. I absolutely love this story.
Local beekeeper Christian Grassland delivered the nest with more than 1,000 bees. This is the murder hornets, right? Bees to it. Delivered the nest with more than 1,000 bees into a municipal building in the northwestern town of Marion in France's Brittany region. Mr. Grassland took matters into his own hands in protest of the government's inability to take action to control the killer species.
Oh, did he release them?
No.
Or did he just throw the bag?
He had requested the local government destroy the nest a few days earlier, but was declined. Quote, I was refused on the fact that the nest is on private domain, he told the French newspaper Quest France. Quote, if the nest is so dangerous at the door of the town hall, and I am a fool for having placed it there, why is it not quite as crazy to leave it outside a private house? That's what he said, yeah.
I'm sorry. I really wish he would have just opened the bag, like walked inside in his full beekeeper getup and opened the bag and cut him loose.
The Asian hornets, the Asian hornets are the largest member of the wasp family and have been reported to grow up to 5 centimeters long. Holy crap, that's 2 inches.
Yeah, they're big bastards.
That's a big fucking wasp. Holy shit.
And if I remember correctly, this particular wasp is in the top 5 most painful stings.
Something like that, yeah. It has a toxic venom that can cause human excessive pain, and in rare cases, even death.
Sweet. Like
Marion,
I said, should have opened the bag and just cut them loose, man.
Marion Mayor Yves Chaslis confirmed the incident, condemning Mr. Grissland's actions. Quote, a nest of Asian hornets was deposited Monday, October 12, 2020 in the morning in front of the entrance to our town hall. I have nothing against beekeepers who also worked as a destroyer of the hornet's nest, but this was wrong because it endangered our fellow citizens.
Wait a second. He left him in the bag. He didn't endanger anybody. All he did was drop it off for you to dispose of. What the fuck?
They are not pretty little sons of bitches at all.
No, they're not.
That is not a good looking animal.
I have seen videos of them where you can watch their stingers go out and back in as when you piss them off. It's
Well, yeah, they're wasps, but not bees.
well, I mean, even with bee or even the larger bee species, you can still see it, but I mean, they just the stinger itself is intimidating to look at. It's
Yeah,
fucking
they're
terrifying
all
as shit.
fucking intimidating to look at.
See, like our local wasps and stuff, I don't feel intimidated by them. But we have a species of wasp around here that it's a carnivorous wasp, but it's solitary,
Hmm.
and they look very similar. The things are goddamn huge.
Yeah, I call all of them fuck you bugs.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, bees,
Uh,
wasps, roaches, they're all fuck you bugs.
See, bees don't bother me. We have down below our house here. There's some dead wood laying down, and I know that there's a couple of nests of carpenter bees in there and stuff. They don't bother me. They're just out there pollinating our flowers. They're making sure our vegetable garden grows. That's fine. But then we had a nest of paper wasps take up
Oh,
residence outside my son's bedroom window.
hell no.
And we're like, I'm glad that next week it's going to be 30 degrees.
Oh, that's what I'm looking forward to. Well, we don't get 30 degrees, but we get like 50s, and we'll drop into the 40s at night, and sometimes we'll drop into the 30s. But I'm just waiting for the fucking mosquitoes to die.
Well, I think the high temperature today might have been 31.
High temperature today was like 75. Well, all right, let's get on to another article because I don't know, we're bored. Uh, Epping restaurant chooses to close rather than require masks. This is Epping, New Hampshire. They're just across the border from Massachusetts. Um, quote, what happened to live free or die? Is the question posed on the sign outside of Roslyn Homemade Ice Cream. The restaurant closed Sunday until further notice after owner Joseph Boge refused to require that a handful of employees wear face masks. A defiant Boge hasn't mandated masks or asked the public to wear them, despite the state's COVID-19 guidance requiring restaurant employees in direct contact with customers to wear face coverings. Boge said he got the call from the state attorney general office on October 15th, informing him that someone had complained that the restaurant at 153 Exeter Road wasn't requiring masks. He was given until early this week to come up with a plan, but instead of adopting a mask mandate, Boge decided to close. Quote, this is just, unfortunately, something where they're using a scare tactic to control. We made the hard decision. Either we followed the sheep or we stood our ground, which we've done from day one, that everybody should have a free right on their decision. Rather than have the state send somebody in here to pull my license, we decided that we'll do it on our terms, and until we can get this straightened out, we will just stay closed. The restaurant, which serves breakfast and lunch, but also makes homemade ice cream and baked goods. When the restaurant is when the rest or while the restaurant side is closed, Boge said ice cream will continue to be sold by masked employee until it is gone, which will likely be at the end of the week. At that point, the entire business will remain closed until the state lifts its mask rules for restaurants. Quote, a lot of our customers that we were here, quote, a lot of our customers that were here yesterday and Saturday said that one of the reasons they came here was because this is one of the places that they felt a sense of normalcy, which is a big deal. The sense of normality is something that I've had a lot of trouble adjusting to. Call it normalcy bias or whatever, but like going out in public and seeing masks and not being able to see people's mouths, when they talk, or not being able to see people's smiles. Um, it's
Yeah,
it's fucking depressing.
it's depressing, and honestly, it's kind of creepy.
It's
You,
I don't know, it feels inhumane, you know?
I can see that.
Like there's no well, not no, but like there's no real ability to like instantly connect with people, right? Like you see someone smile, you see them nod, right? And I mean that's a quick connection, an acknowledgement. But
Right?
without that, it
Feels empty. It feels
yeah,
hollow.
exactly. Boj says that most of the workers are family members and some have health issues that make it difficult to wear a mask. He said he was told that he needed to present doctor's notes for his workers who couldn't wear masks, and as an alternative, they would be able to wear face shields. Boj said face shields aren't feasible either, especially for the dishwasher. Yeah, you're not.
Yeah.
That hot water that steams up that mask, it doesn't matter.
You and I both wear glasses. I mean,
Yep.
wearing masks is damn near impossible when we have to, just because our glasses steam up.
Yep.
Where the hell does that air go if it can't go through the mask? It goes right straight up into your goddamn eyeballs.
Bo said he's either especially the dishwasher. He insisted that the restaurant has gone above and beyond with sanitizing. Quote, last I knew, we still lived in New Hampshire, which was the live free or die state. It should be a customer's or a business's choice if they are going to mask or not. Nobody is saying that you have to come in. We all know that salt causes high sodium, which kills people, but people are still allowed to decide if they want to put salt on their food or not. Quote, it's definitely going to impact our lives. If I have to chew up my savings over time, I will do so, but I will not bow down.
Well, I mean, good for him. I mean, that's the only thing that's really going to make a difference in the grand scheme of things when it comes to getting back to some sorts of normalcy. Because I mean, I read an article the other day where it says there's two ways that a pandemic ends. One is a medical end where, you have herd immunity, that kind of stuff. And the other is a social end where everybody says, you know what, I've had enough of this shit. I accept the risk and I'm going to live my fucking life.
Yeah.
And the problem is nobody at any level of government is willing to accept that we are actually coming to a social end for this pandemic. I see people all over the place, left people, right people, everybody, that have just had enough and they want to live their goddamn life.
Well, not only that, but like the government played its hand when, or the government not played its hand. The government showed its hand when they told contact tracers to not ask about people's protesting.
Yeah.
Right. Like if we can't ask about people's protesting, which means people are allowed to protest, which means that the virus isn't nearly as bad as the government's laid on. And again, as we talked about earlier, media is a for-profit business.
Yep.
The more they can sensationalize, the more they can bring people in, the more fear porn they can put out, the more they can get for advertising.
Which comes right back to what we were talking about at the beginning, where the media is only going to give you the information, like what Jason was just saying. The media is only going to give you the information that's going to drive you into a tizzy.
Yep.
That's all they care about. Get your, the hairs on the back of your neck raised up. I gotta find a place for my empties here, Jesus.
Fear and anger are two of the easiest emotions to play on.
Yep. I've seen the only thing that's more powerful than fear is hope. And people right now don't feel any hope because they feel so much fear that's being peddled by the media, by especially the politicians on the left. I'm not going to say that those on the right are absolved of anything here, because that's absolutely not. But the left has driven this fear to the point, and their mouthpieces and the propaganda wing of the government, aka the media,
What's the saying? Hollywood is the fourth branch of the government,
right? They have driven this home to the point where people are feeling hopeless. They're feeling terrified, and because they're feeling that, that's what's leading to, going back to the first article about the preppers and everybody buying all this gear. That's what's driving that. Is people feel hopeless because their states because they look to the government for their solutions rather than looking to themselves, looking to their friends, their family, their neighbors. That's where you're going to find the solution. It's not going to be, some massive edict from creepy Uncle Joe or the Grand Chairman Cheeto sitting on high in their ivory tower that's going to fix this. is going to be, if you really think that coronavirus, COVID-19, is as dangerous as the media says, the solution is going to come from your local community, from your neighbors, your friends, your family, your coworkers. That's where you're going to find your answer. It's not going to come from government.
No. Government is part of the problem.
Government is a big part of the problem. It's the majority of the problem, in my not so humble opinion.
So, speaking of government being part of the problem,
Uh-oh.
DEA launches Project Safeguard.
This would have been a good one to follow up to other two that just about had my brain exploding from anger.
Well, I didn't want you to pop because I didn't want to have to do this by myself.
But now you're going to wind me back up, and it's just not going to end well.
Well, we got one more after this one, and it's a good one. It's peaceful, at least. So, DEA launches Project Safeguard, an initiative aims to reduce violence and illegal drug trafficking. What?
I'm going to translate this for those of you playing at home. This is an initiative that they're launching to justify their own existence.
And
just
what?
Like the ATF and their stupid letters and all that. It is an attempt to justify their own existence.
DEA bust DEA plot.
I was going to say DEA bust CIA plot, but yeah, same idea.
Freeway Rick Ross. All right. But this is like what happens when there's a crackdown on drugs, right? When they launched the war on drugs, what happened, right? The black market, which sells drugs, got ultra competitive because it got more dangerous, which means the profits went up because people started charging more because it was dangerous, which means people got in because of the high profits. People didn't want competition, which means it got violent.
What do you think is going to happen now? Let's wait to see what happens.
Yeah.
I'll take shit's gonna hit the fan for 1,000, Alex.
Yeah. The Drug Enforcement Administration says it will direct efforts to help reduce violence and illegal drug trafficking in communities with a new initiative. DEA Acting Administrator Timothy J. Shea said Tuesday the initiative, called Project Safeguard, aims to identify and prioritize ongoing drug traffickers and connections to violent crimes across the country.
Okay, before we go any further, I want to point this out. Going back to what you said about how the black market pricing, everything went way up after the announcement of the original drug war. So the answer to government being a problem by creating this drug war in the first place is more government, apparently, according to the DEA.
More government is never the answer to issues created because of government.
Ever.
That's a Jason Booth original. You can quote me. Quote, drug trafficking and violent crimes are inexplicably linked. No, really?
Really? I'm shocked. Could it be because you created the fucking problem?
From the extreme levels of violence of Mexican cartels, eye roll, to the open-air drug markets in American cities, double eye roll, drug traffickers employ violence, fear, and intimidation to ply their trade.
Wait. Drug traffickers use violence, fear, and intimidation to drive sales? Is that what they're trying to say here? Let's shoot yourself with this heroin, or I'm going to shoot.
Let's not forget that the violence in Mexican drug cartels is a direct result of the prohibition and war on drugs.
So again, government created the problem, and government thinks more government is the solution.
Yeah. Neighborhoods across our country are terrorized by violent drug trafficking organizations that have little regard for human life and profit from the pain and suffering of our people. Along with our law enforcement partners, DEA is committed to safeguarding the health and safety of our communities.
Okay, I would also like to add here that a lot of the drug problem that they're trying to fight, or supposedly fight and everything, is opioid related. Which, can we please throw that article in here? You know what article I'm talking about, don't you?
Which one? Bring it up.
The one about Purdue. The manufacturer of OxyContin is basically giving their company to the government to run because the government is going to run the drug better.
They were just fined like $8 billion or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
how much money did they make? Yeah.
So essentially, what they're saying here is the opioid problem. I'm going to centralize myself on the opioid problem because I'm sorry, cocaine is not that big of a problem in this country right now.
Don't forget that the omnibus bill that Biden wrote, right? Crack had a higher classification and a worse punishment than cocaine.
And they're the same drug.
Even though they're the same drug, but because crack was a, quote, black drug.
Yep.
Cocaine was a, quote, white drug.
White drug. White collar drug is how I've heard it is. Cocaine and
Freeway Rick Ross. Look up the name.
Right? No. And so what I'm getting at here is the opioid problem, which is, yes, it's a problem, but it's a problem that's been manufactured. Their solution is, after taking control of one of the primary opioid manufacturers for prescription opioids, is to crack down on the problem that was manufactured by the manufacturers of the prescription opioids, largely at the direction of the FDA.
Something like that, yeah.
I mean, just saying. I mean, the FDA said, "Hey, we have all these drugs. Let's use them." And now the DEA is saying, "Hey, we're going to crack down on all these drugs that the FDA told us to use."
Well, not only that, it was the whole issue with the doctors like overprescribing pain pills, right? And people get hooked on the pain pills, and then the DEA and the FDA is like, "Nope, stop that." And the people went like, well, what am I going to use? And they went to things like heroin and fentanyl and crack and all this other stuff. Like, if they'd have just decriminalized cannabis in the first place, these people would never have went on fucking OxyContin.
You got it.
So, since August 1st, 2020, the DEA Seattle Field Division, state and local partners have conducted many operations in the Pacific Northwest to capture drug traffickers. The agency has so far made 146 arrests, seized 95 weapons, and $3,559,107 in seized assets.
So in what, 2 months, almost 3 months, they have arrested 146 people, taken 95 weapons off the street, and $3.5 million in assets. By the way, where do you think those $3.5 million in assets go?
Oh, to the government.
Right. I just wanted to point that out too while we're at it.
Of the numerous drugs, agencies have seized 120 pounds of heroin, 18.5 pounds of powdered fentanyl, 571 pounds of methamphetamines, 37 pounds of cocaine, and 41,200 pills containing fentanyl. The DEA says they work with federal, state, and local partners, including the ATF and the U.S. Marshals. So,
well, yeah, I guess to be fair, I don't see anything related to marijuana on that list. But at the same time, who cares what you put in your body?
Yeah, cannabis is legal in Washington.
That's true, and Oregon.
And Oregon. No.
But still, I don't care what you put in your body as long as you're not trying to bother me because of what you put in your body. Live your fucking life, dude.
Yeah.
If it takes care of your pain, great. I'm sorry. This is just fucking.
It's criminalization of freedom of choice.
Yes.
Like, I don't like it. I don't like fentanyl. I don't like meth. I don't like heroin.
But I'm not a fan. I'm not a huge fan of cocaine. But At the same time, why? Whose business is it of mine, or why is it my business, or anybody's business,
Mm-hmm.
what you decide to do with your own goddamn body? If you want to run yourself into the ground by sticking needles between your toes,
Yep.
I don't care.
And let's not
It's not
forget
my problem.
that the U.S. government was one of the biggest drug traffickers in the world
Was?
for over a decade.
Was?
Was true, not was is, but like, look up the Air America program. Look
Yep.
at the Contra, old Ronnie Reagan.
Yep.
As I said earlier, Freeway Rick Ross. Look up for like, there's that movie with Tom Cruise.
That's actually called Air America.
Well, no. That's
No.
that's
the Mel
that's the
Gibson.
one. That's what Mel Gibson. That's Air America. That's the one where they're in the Southeast Asia.
Yep.
There's the newer one with Tom Cruise, which is based out of Arkansas.
Yep.
I can't remember the name of that movie, but
Nope, I know which one you're talking about.
that's the one that led to Freeway Rick Ross and all the Contra affair and
Yep.
old Pablo Escobar and all that good. I'm sure someone's gonna message me,
I just
and I'm gonna
and,
feel
and
dumb as soon as I see the name because I know the name.
oh, here, just give me a second here. The
Um,
power of Google compels you.
Yeah, DEA special agent in charge Keith Weiss said violence and illegal drug trafficking often coincide, threatening the safety of communities.
American made.
American made, yes, that one. Threatening the safety of communities. Like, quote, while conducting investigations, we continually encounter individuals associated with violent actions that have included kidnapping, armed assaults, home invasions, murder for hire, weapons trafficking, and distributing the most dangerous drug we face, fentanyl.
Okay,
Like,
I would like to point out, yes, fentanyl.
kidnapping, armed assaults, home invasions, murder for hire, weapons trafficking, and distributing drugs. All things the government does
On
the
a daily
regular.
basis. And I would like to point out that yes, fentanyl is a very powerful drug, and it's very easy to overdose on fentanyl.
Yeah.
There is another more powerful drug. I think it's called carfentanil.
No, there's a new one that is worse than fentanyl that was recently approved by the FDA. Or more powerful than oxycodone that was recently approved. I can't remember the name of that. That was approved for, I think it was military use.
I think this one here that I'm talking about, I think it's carfentanil, which is like twice as powerful as, or 3 times as powerful as fentanyl, and that's been around for a while. I saw a comparison one time where it showed like how much heroin it took to overdose, how much fentanyl it took to overdose, and then how much of this carfentanil it took to overdose.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like 1 grain of sand's worth of this carfentanil was enough to kill you.
So I'm sure Matt Freeman, if you hear this from the Status Quo podcast, he's a ex-army medic. He knows about this sort of stuff. I'm sure he'll message me.
And I would like to also point out that a lot of this opioid problem can also be pointed to, at least at some degree, to the Afghanistan war. Just because there's a lot of opium that comes out of Afghanistan, and the war in Afghanistan really didn't start until after they had started changing some of their agricultural exports to not include so much opium.
Well, there's a lot of reports of soldiers doing nothing but protecting
opium fields.
Poppy fields, yeah.
Poppy fields, yeah.
So it is what it is.
I just want to point that out, that when people say that the U.S. government is one of the largest drug traffickers in the world, they're not lying to you.
Largest drug traffickers and one of the largest polluters. So the U.S. government literally sucks, guys.
Well, government as a whole sucks. It doesn't matter what country you're in. But I mean,
some are worse than others.
Some are worse than others. But it doesn't. When you look at the United States is an imperial power.
Yeah.
They're not an imperial power in the sense of like think 19 or 1800s and before imperialism. But think about how many countries the U.S. has a military presence in today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean,
they have like 159 military bases outside the United States or something like that.
I think they have them. I think they have more than that as far as bases outside the U.S. I think that's how many countries they have a military presence in.
I think it's like 126. So I don't know.
Either way, that it's just astronomically stupid. The number military of the United States is deployed in more than 150 countries around the world, with approximately 165,000 of its active duty personnel permanently assigned outside the borders of the United States and its territories. And that does not include Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria.
Lovely.
So
this political from 2015 says, despite recent closing of hundreds of bases in Iraq and Afghanistan, the United States still maintains about 800 military bases in more than 70 countries and territories abroad. From giant, quote, little Americas to small radar facilities.
yeah,
Jesus.
well, I was gonna say I know like there's several listening posts and stuff in South America that aren't officially there.
Yeah,
where all they
radar,
are is
radar
they're a radar post or a comms relay post or something like that. That's all they do. They have like 6 guys that sit in a hut on the top of a mountain with a radar station.
Yeah. That'd be a shitty job. I couldn't stand that.
Oh, it'd drive me nuts.
Like if I was alone, it'd be easier than if it was just 5 or 6 guys. Like, do it like it used to be my dream to sit in a fire watchtower for a summer. Like that would be cool as fuck.
I was actually disappointed that they stopped doing that in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Because if you go all over the state, especially in the flatlands, you can see them, the towers that pop up over the landscape, and it's depressing because none of them are manned anymore. They stopped doing it like 7 years ago.
You should look into it. There's a lot of them you can rent out like an Airbnb style.
That'd be cool.
Stay there for a couple days.
I know there's one place that was I can't remember what the building actually was. I think it might have been just a private residence where they built a fire watchtower onto the house. Then it goes up like 8 stories, but it's all enclosed.
Yeah, there's a lot of those in like Colorado and Montana. They'll have like a turret on the side of the house that rises high above it.
I always thought that would be fun to have that place because
it'd be cool to have a fucking turret.
Fuck yeah, it would. Until the government shows up with their Bearcat, but I mean,
it's not very armored on the top.
Or on the bottom when they drive the Bearcat through it.
Me and my Barrett are following along with it. I don't have a Barrett. I live in California. Don't shoot me. All right.
Hashtag don't red flag me, bro.
Don't red flag me, bro. Don't join me, bro. I'm at this one. Irish citizens donate more than $1 million to Native Americans in repayment of historic debt.
I love this story.
I wish Andrew's here. Andrew, our homie, he has dual citizenship. He was actually, I think, he was born in Ireland.
I believe he was, yeah.
And then moved here when he was like 8 or 9 or whatever, something like that. So, but yeah, he has dual citizenship with Ireland, all that good stuff. But a bid to raise money for Native American tribes impacted by the coronavirus has seen more than $6 million handed in to those in need after outpouring of support from Irish citizens looking to repay a 173-year-old debt. Residents of the Navajo Nation, a territory that straddles the U.S. states of Utah, Arizona, and New Mexico, have at points been among the worst affected by the pandemic worldwide. That's because the federal government doesn't give a shit about the Native Americans. With 6% of the region's population infected so far. Among the issues facing residents were a lack of access to clean running water for hygiene purposes, with 1 in 3 living without indoor plumbing. However, an outpouring of support has come from an unlikely source: Irish residents across the Atlantic looking to offer support as a repayment for Native American solidarity shown during the Great Potato Famine of the 1840s. In 1847, the Choctaw Nation sent $170, equivalent to $5,000 in today's money, to starving Irish families suffering from the effects of the potato blight, which caused around 1 million deaths. Quote, one of our leadership members started noticing we were receiving a large sum of donations from Ireland. That is from Cassandra Begay from the Navajo and Hopi Families COVID-19 Relief Group. Quote, and it's like, what's going on? Is our account being hacked? Spurred on by the support of Irish citizens who were among those who donated to the cause back in May when the campaign broke the $1 million mark, the organization has since been able to amass more than $5,968,000. In total, some 26,500 Irish citizens are reported to have donated more than $1 million towards the campaign, which have been used to distribute more than 1,000 gallons of water as well as food items, including flour and blue cornmeal. Ms. Begay added, quote, we will never forget the history we made together. We will never forget how the Irish made us feel, heard, and seen in this beautiful way. So,
just goes to show you that actually taking it upon yourselves to do a good deed for people who need help will not go unnoticed. It might not happen in your lifetime. It may be something that happens down the road to some of your descendants. But stepping up and doing what is right to help people who need help.
Well, yeah, that
is at the root.
When we advocate voluntarism, one of the first counter arguments that comes across from the super status is, but what about the old and the poor, right? Well, who will take care of grandma? Blah 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 blah.
That is the responsibility of those that are producing currently to take care of or to help them in any way that they have the means to help them.
This is a perfect example of voluntarism.
Yeah,
this is a perfect example of people taking care of people. And I say again and again that there's nothing the government does or claims to do that we, through communal and individual voluntary action, cannot do for ourselves.
And do better.
And in many cases, do better. Yeah, I mean, we can't waste money like they do, but
no. But well, there's two things government does better than private industry. One is waste money, and two is kill. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, especially when you talk about the number of government-related deaths in the 20th century. I mean, you're talking
democide, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, this is a perfect example of, hey, stepping up and helping people. I mean, these are not the people that the Choctaw Nation and other Native American communities. The people today are not the ones that were assisted by them 160, 70 years ago.
170 years ago,
170 years ago.
Yeah.
However, that hasn't been forgotten by those who received that help.
Yep, so.
Because their descendants were told, look, these people who probably didn't have a whole lot to offer in the way of help in the first place.
Oh, God, no.
Scraped it together and sent us what they could to help. It would be stupid of us not to try to return the favor.
Yep.
And in this case, they returned the favor massively.
And what is it? A million, and it was like 26,500 people.
Yeah, 26.
That comes out to about $37.74 each. So less than $40 each.
But look what they were able to do with $40 a head.
Yeah. So
I mean, if you think that your tiny contribution to that charity down the road that helps underprivileged children, or that guy sitting on the corner who doesn't look like he's had a shower in 3 weeks, if you gave him $40, he would probably.
They put up so many fucking anti-panhandling signs here. made panhandling a crime.
And there's a lot of places, or here in Wisconsin, there's a lot of places that have done the same thing. Where Andrew lives right now, if I remember correctly, they passed an ordinance where if you want to panhandle,
it's illegal here.
It's not illegal. You have to go to the city hall and pay $25 to get a permit.
To get a panhandling permit? God damn! If I had $2,500, I wouldn't need a fucking panhandling permit.
Right? It's not $2,500. It's like $25.
$25. Even $25.
Right. It's like if these people had $25 to pay, they wouldn't be standing on the fucking corner begging for money in the first place.
So yes, I got nothing else, man. I'm tired. I don't like this chair. You got anything else you want to add? Anything you want to say? Blow a gasket?
No, I'm not going to blow a gasket. But I do want to point out, just listen, people. Listen to what we've said tonight and in the previous 110 episodes, where we have said over and over that the government is not here to help you. They are not here to help you. And anybody who still believes that after reading anything in the news today or over the last 10 years or better.
Who you vote for on Tuesday will not change that.
No, not one iota. You could walk in and sign and put down Mickey fucking Mouse. And if Mickey Mouse won 270 electoral votes, nothing would change. Because whether it's a fictional character or Grand Chairman Cheeto or Dementia Joe, it doesn't matter. Nobody is going to help you. The only person who can help you is you and those which you have developed interpersonal relations with over the previous however many years you've been fucking live.
I just got sent a link. Meet the dominatrix forcing Trump supporters to vote for Biden.
Oh, good lord. All right. We have to go through this now.
Empress Delphina is taking her submissive fans into seeing, Empress Delphina is talking her submissive fans into seeing the error of their ways for the low price of $1.99 a minute. Jesus fucking Christ, we are in the wrong job.
Right? I could whip somebody into shape for fucking $1.99 a minute, man. Good lord.
Let's see, the election season, many people who wouldn't be natural allies of centrist Democrats under normal circumstances are pulling out all the stops to rally for their particular audience to vote for Trump's reelection campaign, or Trump's reelection via voting Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. But let's see. Let's get down. Let's talk about it. Thanks to Las Vegas-based professional dominatrix named Empress Delphina, the once overlooked voting bloc is covered and may be voting Biden by force. She calls it, quote, Trump conversion therapy. Her ad service reaches out to potential Biden voters as follows, quote, here's your chance to get berated for being the degenerate Trump supporter you are. I reverse the brainwash you succumb to that you've made into a simple, stupid drone by using lethal mind-fucking language and making you repeat dumbass chants like your bullshitter-in-chief made you do to warp you into submission. I transfer your ownership to me for my personal gain and entertainment. Embrace that you need to be saved from being a Trumpabot. Call now to begin your Trump conversion therapy. And business is booming, apparently.
Well, I mean, there's definitely a market for people who wish to be dominated, but
okay. Quote. Do you think some of those Trump guys on your social media might have been getting off on their humiliation fetish already, without paying you? They just wanted to get a free smackdown from your pro-dom in that way. She says, correct. At one moment, I realized, wait, I think this guy's getting off on it because here I am, a hot girl humiliating him, and he's getting this attention for free. That's when I decided I should get paid for this shit and also try to get them to vote for a different leader, a Democrat. So that's when I put my ad for Trump conversion therapy up.
I would like to point out that it doesn't matter because in most states, your services are illegal. Oh man,
sex is illegal.
No,
this isn't sex.
In a lot of states, the pro or the anti-prostitution laws also cover dominatrixes.
That's fucking stupid.
Agreed, but
all right. Well, I'm gonna put this link in the description too, you guys. So we didn't really go over the article much, but I'm gonna throw it in the
because that's some funny ass shit right there.
Fucking hilarious.
Well, we always strive to have a stripper article. We might not have a stripper article, but damn it, we have a dominatrix.
So, all right. On that note, buy Durica's book. Hashtag sorry, Durica. Yes, buy Durica's book. Critical Guide to something critical thinking. It's linked in the description. Beardstruggle.com. Inked Anarchist 15 to get 15% off. That is also linked in the description. Road to Autonomy, the e-magazine that is put out by the fantastic Dharma. And go listen to that podcast with her and quote unquote Silas, which is freaking Jeremy Hengeller, our podfather. And yeah, sorry for this weird, boring episode, you guys.
In our defense, we were left unsupervised.
Yes, we didn't have Derica here to keep us in check. We didn't have Andrew here to keep us on point. Oh wait, Andrew never keeps us on point.
No, Andrew goes off on rants.
Yeah, we didn't have any Andrew rants. We didn't have Derica to. I'm gonna go put on my plate carrier and get my underwear.
That sounds like a plan.
So on that note, we'll catch you next time.
Peace.
Peace.